those book clubs where you get 10 books free for a penny
and a
or
bag,
whatever?
right?
Yeah, there you go. So,
Yeah.
so I had seen an article in the newspaper about Ross Jeffries in a Sunday supplement, and this idea that you could communicate with people unconsciously really blew my mind. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
The idea that people have a conscious mind,
Yeah,
but they also have an unconscious, and that it's possible to communicate with people unconsciously. I just found completely fascinating.
Yes.
And she saw a book on NLP called NLP at Work in one of these book clubs she was busy signing up for, and she ordered it for me. And so I went through that book, and I was trying all the stuff in it, and I couldn't really get the stuff to work.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I've since learned that doing NLP from a book isn't necessarily the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But some of the ideas in it really captured me. Really, I really liked the presuppositions of NLP, and I really liked...
opens a whole new window, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really
just
does.
Even the presuppositions, just
this idea that there are different ways of thinking about stuff. Again, I think I'd always been kind of set in how I thought, not being particularly flexible in my thinking. And yet I was always impressed by people who could reframe.
Yes.
And who could, and I didn't even know there was a name for it. It would just always, when someone did that, I would be kind of blown away by it.
Yeah, totally.
And I started reading about that and read about metaphors, and I was like, cool. So I started trying out some of the stuff.
With you.
Yeah, and I got results. And with me, as soon as I start getting results from something, I give it a try. So that's kind of what sparked.
That's awesome. I think that's so fascinating, just to awaken parts of yourself that have previously been closed. Yeah. And then to explore them further and further, and then they lead into a whole new world for you.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. So you took your NLP practitioner course, and then what happened then?
Well, even before then, I went on a weekend NLP, just an introduction to NLP, back in '98. So March '98, and I was just blown away by it. I had having that real live experience of NLP.
You can't describe
blew
it
my
to
box.
people,
Well, one of the things which really blew my mind was, because I'd been working in the corporate world for, geez, I don't know, 10 years by then. And this guy, at the beginning of the training was with Ian McDermott.
Oh, yeah.
And Ian walked out, there was a room with about 100 people in it, and he walked out to the front of the room, and he just stood there at the front of the room, or maybe leaned against a stool or something, and just started chatting to this group of 100 people, and telling stories and this sort of thing. And I was like, that's so cool, because I was scared of public speaking.
Of course,
and I'd done all this hideous PowerPoint training and that sort of thing. And then here was someone inspiring people, speaking kind of pretty much off the cuff and that sort of thing, and yet completely entrancing. And I was like, I want to learn how to do that. Not to be an NLP trainer particularly, but just to be able to have that skill and that presence.
In a relaxed way.
Bingo.
Yeah, I love that too. That fascinates me. That's dynamic. Okay, so you did the intro to NLP course, and you were just totally blown away and inspired. Did you think
blown away?
Did you think you were gonna speak to people, or did you just want the skill just to be that confident or something?
You know, the funny thing is, I hadn't even thought it through that far. I love the idea of having that kind of command and presence.
Could rule the world.
And, well, like I said, I hadn't thought that far at that point.
Right.
But I also, just those questions, what do you want, how will you know you've got it, really got in my head. And I realized the job I was doing by this point was working for a consultancy. And I wasn't enjoying it. But again, I didn't perceive any choice. It was kind of, for me, my work life was, it just felt like, okay, I'm on this path, and I have to go on it, and I don't have any choices. And I suddenly realized, you know what, I could do something else. So I quit that job like 2 weeks after taking the course, and lined up. Well, it was, I lined up a contract first, so that I had something else to go straight into. That gave me the time freedom and the income to invest in a whole bunch of NLP training, which was what I did for the next couple of years.
Now, when you first begin NLP training, and even though you're fascinated with all these new things that you can learn, for me, I don't know if it was the same for you, there were so many books that I wanted to read. There was so much I wanted to study, and it got a little bit overwhelming. How was it for you?
It was similar. I was like voraciously reading, but what I fell into a trap, and the trap was, and I see a lot of people do this actually, which is kind of being in knowledge acquisition mode, and with the drive. If we've got this energy to learn something new and to move in a new direction or a new trajectory, that a lot of that energy can get kind of spent reading books and stuff without actually moving forward, without actually getting results.
That's right.
And I really clicked onto it when I would find I was reading a personal development book, and I would come to an exercise. Maybe I'd be sitting on the tube or on the train or whatever. I'd come to an exercise and I'd go, okay, I'll go back and do the exercise after I've finished reading the book.
Right.
And I've been doing that for a while and not going back and doing the exercises.
Not doing the actual experiential exercises.
And I had to make a rule for myself. I said, okay, if I'm reading a book and there's an exercise there, I can't continue reading the book until I've done the exercise.
That's fantastic. Because a lot of the time the exercise leads on to the next part of the book anyway, doesn't it?
It really does.
I love that you said that, Jamie, because I think that is a problem for a lot of people. And that's the thing. You want to read... A lot of people want to read a lot of different books, and they want to read all the famous books and this, that, and the other. But it doesn't really mean that you get a clear understanding of what's going on with NLP. No.
The way I've come to think about it these days, and this relates not just to reading but to other stuff as well, is that there are things that you can learn by taking action.
That's right.
That you cannot learn any other way. We've got a mind and body that have developed for a world of things and experience, a world of moving around and trying stuff out. And so no matter what you think something's going to be like, it's always different when you do it.
That's right,
And no matter what plans you make or whatever, it's always different when you actually take action, because you're learning on a variety of levels. When you take action, you're taking information in on so many different levels and learning in so many different ways. So I'm really into action-based learning, into people doing stuff to learn.
I love that, and I just think it can't be stressed enough that NLP is so experiential. And if you're not actually doing the exercises and practicing, because a lot of people think, well, I'm not ready yet. You never will be until you get it done, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, as soon as I did my practitioner training, I started seeing people, coaching people, doing work with people right away. I didn't wait till I was ready.
Good.
I started long before I was ready.
Yes.
And I learned a ton of stuff. I'm very grateful for those early clients that held still while I tried to do stuff to them.
If you're still out there, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But what that meant was I learned a bunch of stuff. And something that's really important to me these days is the word learning used to mean sitting with a book, or I had a very fixed idea of what learning is.
Totally.
And then Christina Hall, who's one of my mentors and trainers, asked me a question once, which was in a group, which was, do you realize how much you're already learning?
I love that. Don't you love that?
Now, the cool thing is...
I love that,
she asked me that question, and it reframed learning from being a particular activity to being something that can happen in a moment. It just in the course of answering a question inside your head can be a learning process. Questions I'll ask people when we're doing NLP training. Partway through the course I'll say, so, what are some of your big discoveries, insights, and ahas so far in your NLP learning journey? Just the process of asking that question creates learning.
Fantastic.
Creates new cortical pathways, because learning is something that's happening all the time at an unconscious level. You found your way here today. That's a learning process. There's all kinds of learning taking place. We're always learning, especially when we're taking action.
I love it, Jamie. That's fantastic. So you've been doing some coaching. You've been learning a lot of new NLP techniques.